Go wash off the illusion of mattering, Scarlett sneered, her red gown blazing as she shoved Tiana Brooks, a radiant black woman in a silk purple dress, over the Seraphine yacht's railing into the frigid Riviera Sea. Welcome, listeners, to a tale of betrayal and triumph that'll grip your heart. Where are you tuning in from? Atlanta, London, or perhaps Marseille? What do you think happens when a woman's strength defies a sea of cruelty? Will she sink or rise to claim her crown? Stick with us to uncover secrets that'll leave you speechless. We're thrilled to share this story, and we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel for the latest videos. Comment below with your predictions, and let us know where you're watching from. Dive into Tiana's journey and don't miss the twists that await. The Seraphine sliced through the sapphire waves of the French Riviera like a blade of opulence, its 450-foot silhouette a floating palace of obsidian and rose gold. The super yacht, a $350 million marvel, shimmered under the twilight sky, its decks alive with the hum of wealth and ambition. 500 elite guests, tech moguls with eyes like hawks, fashion empresses draped in sapphire-encrusted gowns, and oil barons with cigars trailing fragrant smoke, mingled in a choreography of power. Crystal flutes clinked, their champagne bubbles catching the light of chandeliers that swayed gently with the sea's rhythm. A jazz ensemble, tucked near the bow, wove sultry notes into the salt-laced air, their saxophones wail mingling with the waves' whisper. Paparazzi drones buzzed overhead, their lenses capturing every bespoke tuxedo and diamond choker, live streaming the spectacle to millions via Vanity Fair and X. This was no mere party, it was the engagement celebration of Ethan Caldwell, the 35-year-old blonde-haired CEO of Caldwell Ventures, and Scarlett Vane, a 28-year-old heiress whose presence demanded worship. The air pulsed with whispers of deals sealed and reputations forged, every smirk a verdict, every glance a currency. Ethan stood on the upper deck, his navy suit tailored to perfection, his blue eyes glinting with the confidence of a man who'd conquered the world. His golden hair caught the chandelier's glow, a crown for the king of this floating empire. Beside him, Scarlett Vane was a vision of calculated dominance. Her red gown clung to her like a second skin, its sequins flashing like embers, her diamond choker a noose of privilege. Born to a Parisian art dynasty, Scarlett moved with the grace of a predator, her every gesture a performance for the drones above. Her auburn hair cascaded in waves, and her emerald eyes scanned the crowd, ensuring every guest felt the weight of her triumph. This night was her coronation, a public declaration that she'd claimed Ethan and erased his past. The guests raised their flutes in her honor, their smiles masking envy or allegiance, their laughter a symphony of complicity. Security in black vests patrolled the edges, their earpieces crackling, ensuring no uninvited soul breached this fortress of exclusivity. Below on the main deck, a figure stepped into the opulent storm, and the air shifted. Tiana Brooks, 32, moved with a quiet grace that silenced whispers and drew gasps. Her silk purple dress, delicate straps framing her shoulders, hugged her frame with understated elegance, its violet hue a soft rebellion against the sea of gaudy wealth. Her ebony hair, swept into an elegant bun, gleamed like polished onyx, framing a face of breathtaking beauty. Deep brown eyes fierce with unspoken resolve, full lips curved with a strength that needed no adornment. Tiana's presence was a paradox. A radiant black woman born in Atlanta to a single mother who taught her to dream fearlessly, standing unbowed among those who thrived on exclusion. Her worn ballet flats, scuffed from Marseille's cobblestone streets, whispered of a life built on grit, not gold. Every step she took was a defiance of the world that had tried to break her. Tiana's story was one of fire and scars. She'd clawed through systemic barriers, earning a scholarship to MIT, where her brilliance in algorithms lit up lecture halls. At 23, she'd met Ethan, a charming dreamer, with a spark of ambition, but no map to success. Together, they'd built Caldwell Ventures from a $100 idea in a cramped Atlanta office to a $25 billion empire spanning tech and finance. Tiana's late-night coding sessions, her pitches to skeptical investors, in boardrooms from Tokyo to London, had been the company's backbone. She'd poured her soul into it, her laughter mingling with Ethan's over-cheap coffee as they dreamed of conquering the world. But a miscarriage triggered by relentless harassment had shattered her. Ethan's betrayal, his cold dismissal and eventual divorce 9 months ago, had left her with nothing but her resolve. She'd retreated to Marseille, opening Lumiere Books, a haven for poets and dreamers, living on $30,000 a year. Her life was a testament to resilience, a quiet vow to rise from ashes. Tonight, Tiana was here not by choice but by deception. A cryptic invitation from Ethan's assistant had lured her to the Seraphine, a trap she sensed but faced with unwavering courage. Her brown eyes scanned the deck, wary yet unyielding, taking in the sea of privilege that parted around her. Guests whispered, their gazes narrowing, some with curiosity, others with disdain. A tech mogul in a velvet blazer leaned toward his companion, muttering, "Who's she?" A fashion icon, her sapphire gown trailing like a comet, smirked, "Nobody who matters." Tiana's presence in her simple purple dress was a crack in their polished facade, a reminder of a world beyond their control. She clasped her hands, her fingers steady despite the weight of their stares. Her heart a citadel forged in Atlanta's struggles. Memories flickered. Her mother's voice. "Courage is your crown." The late nights coding with Ethan, his promises of forever. Those promises were dust now, but Tiana stood tall, her silence a power honed through years of overcoming. Scarlett's gaze locked onto Tiana from the upper deck, her emerald eyes narrowing. The heiress's smile tightened, a flicker of insecurity betraying her composure. Tiana, even in her modest dress, was a threat, a living rebuke to Scarlett's carefully crafted triumph. Ethan's arm around Scarlett stiffened, his smirk faltering for a fraction of a second as he followed her gaze. The jazz ensemble's notes grew sharper, the saxophone's wail cutting through the hum of gossip. The drones above zoomed closer, sensing a shift, their feeds buzzing with speculation. Tiana adjusted her dress, her movements deliberate, her brown eyes meeting Scarlett's with a quiet defiance that sent a ripple through the crowd. The Seraphine gleamed, its opulence a stage for a drama yet to unfold, its waves lapping against the hull like a heartbeat. Tiana Brooks, the woman they'd tried to erase, was here, and her presence was a spark in the gilded darkness, a promise of a reckoning to come. The Seraphine sliced through the sapphire waves of the French Riviera like a blade of opulence, its 450-foot silhouette a floating palace of obsidian and rose gold. The super yacht, a $350 million marvel, shimmered under the twilight sky, its decks alive with the hum of wealth and ambition. 500 elite guests, tech moguls with eyes like hawks, fashion empresses draped in sapphire-encrusted gowns, and oil barons with cigars trailing fragrant smoke, mingled in a choreography of power. Crystal flutes clinked, their champagne bubbles catching the light of chandeliers that swayed gently with the sea's rhythm. A jazz ensemble tucked near the bow wove sultry notes into the salt-laced air, their saxophones' wail mingling with the waves' whisper. Paparazzi drones buzzed overhead, their lenses capturing every bespoke tuxedo and diamond choker, live streaming the spectacle to millions via Vanity Fair and X. This was no mere party, it was the engagement celebration of Ethan Caldwell, the 35-year-old blonde-haired CEO of Caldwell Ventures, and Scarlett Vane, a 28-year-old heiress whose presence demanded worship. The air pulsed with whispers of deals sealed and reputations forged, every smirk a verdict, every glance a currency. Ethan stood on the upper deck, his navy suit tailored to perfection, his blue eyes glinting with the confidence of a man who'd conquered the world. His golden hair caught the chandelier's glow, a crown for the king of this floating empire. Beside him, Scarlett Vane was a vision of calculated dominance. Her red gown clung to her like a second skin, its sequins flashing like embers, her diamond choker a noose of privilege. Born to a Parisian art dynasty, Scarlett moved with the grace of a predator, her every gesture a performance for the drones above. Her auburn hair cascaded in waves, and her emerald eyes scanned the crowd, ensuring every guest felt the weight of her triumph. This night was her coronation, a public declaration that she'd claimed Ethan and erased his past. The guests raised their flutes in her honor, their smiles masking envy or allegiance, their laughter a symphony of complicity. Security in black vests patrolled the edges, their earpieces crackling, ensuring no uninvited soul breached this fortress of exclusivity. Below on the main deck, a figure stepped into the opulent storm, and the air shifted. Tiana Brooks, 32, moved with a quiet grace that silenced whispers and drew gasps. Her silk purple dress, delicate straps framing her shoulders, hugged her frame with understated elegance, its violet hue a soft rebellion against the sea of gaudy wealth. Her ebony hair, swept into an elegant bun, gleamed like polished onyx, framing a face of breathtaking beauty, deep brown eyes fierce with unspoken resolve, full lips curved with a strength that needed no adornment. Tiana's presence was a paradox. A radiant black woman, born in Atlanta to a single mother who taught her to dream fearlessly, standing unbowed among those who thrived on exclusion. Her worn ballet flats, scuffed from Marseille's cobblestone streets, whispered of a life built on grit, not gold. Every step she took was a defiance of the world that had tried to break her. Tiana's story was one of fire and scars. She'd clawed through systemic barriers, earning a scholarship to MIT, where her brilliance in algorithms lit up lecture halls. At 23, she'd met Ethan, a charming dreamer with a spark of ambition, but no map to success. Together, they'd built Caldwell Ventures from a $100 idea in a cramped Atlanta office to a $25 billion empire spanning tech and finance. Tiana's late-night coding sessions, her pitches to skeptical investors in boardrooms from Tokyo to London, had been the company's backbone. She'd poured her soul into it, her laughter mingling with Ethan's overcheap coffee as they dreamed of conquering the world. But a miscarriage, triggered by relentless harassment, had shattered her. Ethan's betrayal, his cold dismissal and eventual divorce 9 months ago, had left her with nothing but her resolve. She'd retreated to Marseille, opening Lumiere Books, a haven for poets and dreamers, living on $30,000 a year. Her life was a testament to resilience, a quiet vow to rise from ashes. Tonight, Tiana was here not by choice, but by deception. A cryptic invitation from Ethan's assistant had lured her to the Seraphine, a trap she sensed but faced with unwavering courage. Her brown eyes scanned the deck, wary yet unyielding, taking in the sea of privilege that parted around her. Guests whispered, their gazes narrowing, some with curiosity, others with disdain. A tech mogul in a velvet blazer leaned toward his companion, muttering, "Who's she?" A fashion icon, her sapphire gown trailing like a comet, smirked, "Nobody who matters." Tiana's presence, in her simple purple dress, was a crack in their polished facade, a reminder of a world beyond their control. She clasped her hands, her fingers steady despite the weight of their stares, her heart a citadel forged in Atlanta's struggles. Memories flickered. Her mother's voice, "Courage is your crown." The late nights coding with Ethan, his promises of forever. Those promises were dust now, but Tiana stood tall, her silence a power honed through years of overcoming. Scarlett's gaze locked onto Tiana from the upper deck, her emerald eyes narrowing. The heiress's smile tightened, a flicker of insecurity betraying her composure. Tiana, even in her modest dress, was a threat, a living rebuke to Scarlett's carefully crafted triumph. Ethan's arm around Scarlett stiffened, his smirk faltering for a fraction of a second as he followed her gaze. The jazz ensemble's notes grew sharper, the saxophone's wail cutting through the hum of gossip. The drones above zoomed closer, sensing a shift, their feeds buzzing with speculation. Tiana adjusted her dress, her movements deliberate, her brown eyes meeting Scarlett's with a quiet defiance that sent a ripple through the crowd. The Seraphine gleamed, its opulence a stage for a drama yet to unfold, its waves lapping against the hull like a heartbeat. Tiana Brooks, the woman they'd tried to erase, was here, and her presence was a spark in the gilded darkness, a promise of a reckoning to come. The Seraphine's grand staircase gleamed under the chandelier's golden haze, its obsidian steps a stage for the elite's venom. Tiana Brooks stood at its base, her silk purple dress a quiet rebellion against the opulence, its delicate straps framing her unyielding grace. Her ebony hair, swept into an elegant bun, caught the light, and her deep brown eyes burned with a resolve that silenced the jazz ensemble's fading notes. The air was thick with malice, a storm of whispers and digital daggers aimed at her heart. The guests, their diamonds glinting like fangs, had tasted blood, and now their cruelty surged, amplified by the glow of screens and the buzz of paparazzi drones. Tiana was no longer just an intruder. She was a target, her every breath a defiance they sought to crush. Scarlet Vane, her red gown a blaze of dominance, orchestrated the assault from the upper deck, her emerald eyes glinting with sadistic glee. Her diamond choker flashed as she leaned toward Ethan Caldwell, her voice a venomous purr. "Let's make her regret coming." Ethan, his blonde hair a crown of betrayal, smirked, his blue eyes cold as he nodded. Their engagement party was a battlefield, and Tiana was the enemy. Scarlett's allies, a constellation of influencers and socialites, spun their disdain into a viral crucifixion. Near the infinity pool, Zara Lynn, a 27-year-old influencer with 4 million followers, held court, her silk dress shimmering. "That dress? A thrift store tragedy," she hissed, her phone flashing as she posted a photo of Tiana's silhouette. The caption, "Seraphine's fashion flop," ignited X, racking up 50,000 likes in minutes. Each notification was a lash, each retweet a blade against Tiana's poise. Tiana stood firm, her brown eyes scanning the deck, catching the smirks of guests who raised their flutes in mockery. Her worn ballet flats, scuffed from Marseille's streets, grounded her as the digital storm raged. Her mind flickered to Lumiere books, where she'd mentored poets, her hands steady despite exhaustion. That strength anchored her now, a shield against the onslaught. But the cruelty escalated. A hedge fund heiress, Sophia Grant, 31, her pearl earrings swaying, called out, "Tiana, did you borrow that dress from a street vendor?" The poolside roared, the taunt a guillotine slicing through the jazz's hum. Tiana's heart raced, but her face remained a mask of resolve, her silence a power forged in Atlanta's struggles, where she'd learned to outlast those who'd labeled her less. Near the grand staircase, a cluster of socialites spun gossip into lies. Margot Duval, 29, a New York heiress with a venomous tongue, leaned in, her silk gown rustling. "She faked her miscarriage for pity," she sneered, her words laced with Scarlett's rumors. Her ally, Elise Morrow, 27, a Monaco-based influencer, nodded, her voice dripping scorn. "And that bookstore? A front for her failures?" Their lies cut through the deck's hum, rewriting Tiana's pain into a spectacle. Margot posted a video of Tiana's dress on Instagram, captioned "Seraphine's sob story." The post went viral, comments piling up. "Pathetic," "Leech." Each was a dagger to Tiana's pride. She clasped her hands, her fingers steady, her mind flashing to the hospital. Ethan's cold, "It's better this way," after her miscarriage. Her silence was a fortress, but the socialite's venom was a crushing storm. The assault spread to the yacht's champagne bar, where Caldwell Ventures executives turned their clout into cruelty. Gregory Lang, 43, a chief strategist, his gold cufflinks glinting, boomed, "She couldn't keep a man or a baby." His colleague, Marilyn Holt, 40, a CFO with a venomous smile, leaned in. That miscarriage was her fault, too fragile for this world. Their words sliced through the crowd's murmur, guests nodding, their cigars glowing in approval. Marilyn's cruelty masked her fear. Tiana's presence threatened her role, built on Ethan's lies. A video of Tiana's ballet flats was posted, captioned "Caldwell's X hits rock bottom." The post surged, each comment a lash. An executive called out, "Tiana, here to ruin our empire like you ruined your marriage?" The bar erupted, the taunt a whip against her calm. Tiana's mind flickered to her teenage years, hiding sketchbooks in Atlanta's public housing to escape ridicule. She stood tall, her purple dress a radiant scepter, her dignity unbowed. But the digital storm was relentless. A media mogul, Julian Pierce, 40, his tailored coat gleaming, posted a photo of Tiana's silhouette on X, captioned "Seraphine's beggar." The post exploded, notifications piling up, each a sting. Guests whispered, "She's a disgrace to our circle." A banker, Khalid Raza, 38, called out, "Tiana, thought showing up would get you a payout?" The deck roared, reviving memories of teachers who dismissed her dreams. Her brown eyes flickered, but she stood firm, her silence a beacon in the chaos. Scarlett's grin widened, her hand on Ethan's arm, savoring the chaos. She'd sowed the seeds of this public execution, expecting Tiana to crumble. Ethan emerged from the VIP lounge, his navy suit sharp, his smirk a silent command. "Tiana, don't humiliate yourself," he boomed, his voice echoing over the deck. "I let you go out of mercy." The elite chuckled, their flutes raised. Scarlett sauntered forward, pulling Tiana's old wedding ring from her clutch with a wicked grin. She tossed it to the deck. "Crawl for it," she hissed. The crowd roared, the taunt a guillotine against Tiana's calm. Her eyes blazed, her mind racing to the divorce, her trembling hand returning that ring, vowing never to beg. She didn't flinch, her dignity a citadel. The Seraphine's waves lapped against the hull, a steady heartbeat beneath the cruelty, as Tiana stood, her strength a spark in the storm, unyielding against the viral assault. The Seraphine's main deck shimmered under the chandelier's golden glow, but the air was heavy with malice, a suffocating fog of cruelty that clung to Tiana Brooks. Her silk purple dress, delicate straps framing her shoulders, glowed faintly, a solitary beacon of grace against the elite's venomous tide. Her ebony hair, swept into an elegant bun, framed a face of radiant strength, deep brown eyes blazing with resolve, lips curved with a defiance that silenced the jazz ensemble's faltering notes. Tiana stood near the yacht's railing, her worn ballet flats rooted to the obsidian deck, her presence a crack in the gilded facade of the engagement party. The guests' laughter, sharpened by Scarlet Vane's orchestrated assault, echoed like a storm, their digital daggers still buzzing on screens above. But now the cruelty was poised to crescendo, a final act to break the woman who refused to bow. Scarlet, her red gown a blaze of dominance, glided toward Tiana, her heels clicking with predatory precision. Her diamond choker flashed, a noose of privilege, and her emerald eyes glinted with sadistic intent. The crowd parted for her, their flutes stilled, sensing the climax of her carefully staged spectacle. Ethan Caldwell, his blonde hair catching the light, stood a step behind, his navy suit pristine, but his blue eyes flickering with a guilt he buried under a smirk. Scarlett's voice, amplified by the yacht's hum, cut through the air. "Look at her, clinging to relevance," she sneered, her words a blade aimed at Tiana's heart. The guests chuckled, their diamonds glinting like fangs, emboldened by Scarlett's lead. Tiana's brown eyes met hers unyielding, her silence a fortress forged in Atlanta's struggles, where she'd learned to face those who sought to diminish her. The deck pulsed with anticipation, the paparazzi drones zooming closer, their feeds crackling with speculation. Scarlett's allies, a constellation of influencers and socialites, closed in, their phones glowing with viral posts that had already lashed Tiana's dignity. A fashion influencer, Lila Moreau, 28, her silk scarf fluttering, whispered to her entourage, "She's about to crumble." A banker, Khalid Raza, 38, his platinum watch glinting, muttered, "No place for her here." Tiana clasped her hands, her fingers steady, her heart pounding with her mother's words. "Courage is your crown." She adjusted her purple dress, the silk whispering against her skin, her poise a rebuke to their mockery. But Scarlett's grin widened, her insecurity masked by triumph, her need to erase Tiana a fire that consumed her. Scarlett stepped closer, her red gown brushing the deck, her voice dropping to a venomous hiss. "You're nothing without him," she said, her words echoing taunts from the divorce, when she'd mocked Tiana outside the lawyer's office. The crowd leaned in, their laughter a venomous tide. Tiana's mind flashed to Lumiere books, her Marseille haven where she'd poured tea for poets, her hands steady despite exhaustion. That strength anchored her now, but the weight of Scarlett's malice was suffocating. Ethan watched, his smirk a silent command, his complicity a betrayal that stung deeper than the crowd's scorn. The jazz ensemble's saxophone wailed, a jagged note that mirrored the tension as Scarlett raised her hand, her diamond bracelet flashing. Time to go, she said, her voice a guillotine. With a swift, deliberate shove, Scarlet pushed Tiana, her heels clicking as she forced her backward. Tiana stumbled, her purple dress billowing, her arms flailing as she grasped at the air. The railing gave way behind her, and she plummeted over the edge, the frigid Riviera sea swallowing her in a cold, dark embrace. The splash was a thunderclap, silencing the deck. The elite froze, some smirking, others turning away, their flutes trembling in their hands. Scarlet laughed, a sharp, triumphant sound that cut through the waves' roar. She needed a bath, she said, her red gown glowing like a victor's flag. Ethan sipped his bourbon, his smirk hiding a pang of shame, his eyes avoiding the spot where Tiana had stood moments ago. The drones zoomed in, their feeds exploding with the caption, "Who's the mystery woman?" Tiana's body hit the water, the shock of cold stealing her breath. Her purple dress clung to her, heavy and constricting, as she fought the waves' pull. Her brown eyes, fierce even in the darkness, searched for the surface, her heart racing with her mother's voice. "Courage is your crown." She kicked upward, her ballet flat slipping off, her arms battling the sea's relentless grip. Memories flooded her. Atlanta's public housing, where she'd hidden sketchbooks from ridicule. MIT's lecture halls, where her brilliance silenced doubters. Late nights coding with Ethan, his promises of forever now ash. The water was a mirror of those battles, but Tiana was no stranger to fighting. Her resolve was a fire, burning brighter in the abyss. The Seraphine's deck grew quiet, the jazz faltering, the chandeliers glowed dimming, as if in shame. Scarlet's laughter echoed, but the crowd's silence unnerved her, their faces a mix of shock and unease. A socialite, Margot Duval, 29, her silk gown rustling, whispered, "Did she mean to do that?" A tech heiress, Clara Voss, 30, turned away, her sapphire earrings dull. The drones buzzed louder, their feeds flooding with comments. "Cruel. Who is she?" Scarlet's triumph felt hollow, her insecurity surfacing as Tiana's absence left a void. Ethan's glass shook, memories of Tiana's laughter in their Atlanta office stirring guilt he couldn't drown. The waves lapped against the hull, a steady heartbeat beneath the silence, as the Seraphine waited, its opulence tainted by the plunge into darkness. The Seraphine's deck hung in a stunned hush, the chandelier's golden glow flickering as if recoiling from the cruelty that had just unfolded. The jazz ensemble's notes had dissolved into silence, replaced by the restless lapping of the Riviera waves against the yacht's obsidian hull. Scarlet Vane stood triumphant near the railing, her red gown blazing like a conqueror's banner, her diamond choker glinting with cold victory. Her emerald eyes sparkled with malice, her laughter still echoing from the moment she'd pushed Tiana Brooks into the frigid sea. Ethan Caldwell, his blonde hair catching the light, sipped his bourbon, his smirk a fragile mask over a flicker of unease. The elite guests, their flutes trembling in their hands, stood frozen, some smirking, others averting their gaze, their diamonds dull in the aftermath of the spectacle. The paparazzi drones buzzed frantically, their feeds exploding with speculation. Who's the woman in purple? The Seraphine, a $350 million fortress of wealth, felt like a hollow stage, its opulence tainted by the void where Tiana had stood. From the horizon, a low roar shattered the silence, a speedboat slicing through the waves like a dagger. Its hull gleamed under the moonlight, cutting a path straight for the Seraphine. The guests stirred, their whispers rising as the boat drew closer, its engines growl a primal challenge to the yacht's gilded calm. A figure leapt from the bow, diving into the sea with fierce precision, his strokes powerful yet desperate. The water parted around him, waves churning as he vanished beneath the surface. The crowd gasped, leaning over the railing, their flutes forgotten. Scarlet's grin faltered, her red gown wilting as she sensed a shift. Ethan's glass shook, his blue eyes narrowing at the ripples spreading across the dark water. The drones zoomed in, their lenses capturing the mystery unfolding below. Theo Langley, 37, emerged from the depths, his dark suit soaked, his green eyes a storm of resolve. In his arms, he cradled Tiana, her silk purple dress clinging to her frame, her ebony hair trailing like ink. Her brown eyes, fierce despite the cold, glistened with life, her lips trembling but unbowed. Theo's powerful frame cut through the waves, his breath ragged but steady, his gaze locked on the Seraphine's deck. Born to a London banking dynasty, Theo had built Langley Capital into a $60 billion empire through ruthless deals, but a Senegal flood had humbled him. Tiana, a volunteer aid worker, had pulled him from a collapsing dam, her courage searing into his soul. For 2 years he'd searched for her, her mud-streaked face and fearless voice haunting his dreams. Tonight, his search ended in the Riviera's icy embrace. Theo climbed aboard the Seraphine, his soaked shoes steady on the deck, Tiana shivering but unbroken in his arms. The crowd parted, their whispers a mix of awe and fear, their diamonds dim against the raw power of his presence. He set Tiana down gently, her ballet flats lost to the sea, her purple dress dripping but radiant. Theo draped his coat over her shoulders, its warmth a shield against the elite's stares. "Who did this?" he demanded, his voice low but lethal, cutting through the deck like a blade. The guests froze, their flutes stilled, their faces pale. Scarlett's gown seemed to sag, her bravado crumbling under Theo's gaze. Ethan's glass trembled, his smirk gone, his guilt surfacing like a wound. The drones buzzed closer, their feeds crackling with the question, "Who's the man with her?" Tiana stood tall, her brown eyes fierce, her shivering frame a testament to her resilience. Her mind flashed to Senegal, her hand pulling Theo from the river, her voice calm. "You're safe now." She'd known him as a stranded tourist, not a billionaire, her courage untainted by his wealth. Now his green eyes met hers, a storm of gratitude and awe. The elite watched, their champagne warm, their arrogance dust. Scarlett stepped back, her heels unsteady, her emerald eyes darting to Ethan for support. He offered none, his navy suit crumpling as memories of Tiana's laughter in their Atlanta office stirred. The jazz ensemble remained silent, the waves' rhythm the only sound, a heartbeat underscoring the tension. Theo's hand steadied Tiana's, his touch a vow. "You're safe now," he said, echoing her words from Senegal, his voice raw with emotion. The crowd's silence was deafening, their earlier laughter a distant shame. A socialite, Margot Duval, 29, her silk gown rustling, whispered, "Who is he?" A tech heiress, Clara Voss, 30, clutched her sapphire earrings, her face pale. The Seraphine's chandeliers cast prisms across the deck, illuminating Tiana's purple dress, a radiant scepter in the chaos. Theo's gaze swept the crowd, a guillotine of judgment, his presence a reckoning they hadn't anticipated. Scarlett's hand twitched, her diamond choker a noose tightening around her triumph. Ethan's bourbon glass slipped, a faint crack against the deck, his betrayal exposed in the silence. Tiana's heart raced, her brown eyes glistening with hope and fear. She clasped Theo's coat, its weight grounding her resolve a fire that no sea could extinguish. Her mother's words echoed, "Courage is your crown." The drone's lenses zoomed in, their feeds flooding with awe. "A hero emerges." The Seraphine's waves lapped against the hull, a steady pulse beneath the shifting power. Theo stood beside Tiana, his soaked suit clinging to his frame, his green eyes fierce with purpose. The elite's world, built on exclusion, trembled in the face of his arrival, their opulence a fragile mask. Tiana's presence, her dignity unbowed, was a spark in the darkness, and Theo's dive had ignited it into a flame that would not be quenched. The Seraphine's main deck lay under a spell of stunned silence, its obsidian floors reflecting the chandelier's faltering glow. The air, once thick with malice, now crackled with a new energy, a seismic shift heralded by Theodore Langley's arrival. Tiana Brooks stood beside him, her silk purple dress dripping seawater, its delicate straps framing her unyielding grace. Her ebony hair, loosened from its elegant bun, clung to her shoulders, and her deep brown eyes burned with a fire that no ocean could quench. Theo's soaked suit clung to his powerful frame, his green eyes a storm of resolve as he held Tiana's hand, his coat still draped over her shivering form. The elite guests, their flutes frozen in their hands, stood like statues, their diamonds dull against the raw power of this moment. Scarlet Vane, her red gown wilting, clutched the railing, her emerald eyes wide with dread. Ethan Caldwell, his blonde hair disheveled, gripped his bourbon glass, his smirk shattered. The paparazzi drones buzzed frantically, their feeds alight with awe. A hero's vow unfolds. Theo's voice, low and lethal, still echoed from his demand. Who did this? The question hung like a guillotine, unanswered, as the crowd's earlier laughter turned to ash in their throats. He turned to Tiana, his gaze softening, a universe of gratitude and reverence in his eyes. The deck, a $350 million stage of wealth, felt small against the weight of his intent. He knelt before her, his knee pressing into the wet deck, his hand steadying hers. Tiana, he said, his voice raw, carrying over the wave's restless hum. You saved me in Senegal, not just from the river, but from an emptiness I didn't know I carried. Your courage, your heart, it's my salvation. The guests gasped, their whispers swallowed by the moment. Tiana's brown eyes glistened, hope and fear warring within her, her heart racing with memories of Senegal, her hand pulling him from the flood, her voice calm. You're safe now. Theo's words grew fiercer, a vow to the world. I've searched for you for 2 years, haunted by the woman who gave me life. Tonight I beg you, let me stand by you, protect you from this venom. He paused, his green eyes locked on hers. Be my wife. The deck erupted in a collective gasp, the chandelier's prisms trembling as if struck. The drones zoomed closer, their lenses capturing every heartbeat, their feeds flooding with shock. A billionaire's proposal! Tiana stood frozen, her purple dress a radiant scepter, her bare feet grounding her to the deck. Her mind flashed to her mother's words. Courage is your crown. She'd vowed never to trust love again, not after Ethan's betrayal, but Theo's eyes held a truth she couldn't deny. Her voice, soft but ironclad, broke the silence. I don't need their apologies. I have you. She nodded, a single tear tracing her cheek, her dignity a fortress. The elite's champagne soured, their arrogance dust. Scarlett's red gown seemed to fade, her diamond choker a noose choking her bravado. She stumbled back, her heels catching, her emerald eyes darting to Ethan, who offered no rescue. His navy suit crumpled, his bourbon glass slipping to the deck with a faint crack. Memories of Tiana's laughter in their Atlanta office now a knife in his chest. The crowd's silence was a judgment, their earlier scorn a shameful echo. A socialite, Margot Duval, 29, her silk gown rustling, whispered, She's won. A tech heiress, Clara Voss, 30, clutched her sapphire earrings, her face pale with envy and awe. The Seraphine's waves lapped against the hull, a steady heartbeat beneath the upheaval, as Tiana's acceptance rewrote the night. Theo rose, his hand never leaving Tiana's, his gaze sweeping the deck like a storm. You, he said, turning to Scarlett, his voice steel, push the woman who saved my life. Your career is ash. Security stepped forward, presenting a tablet displaying Scarlett's modeling agencies, blacklisting her for gross misconduct. Her red gown sagged, her Parisian empire crumbling as she stammered. I didn't mean... Her voice broke, her rise from a Paris flat to global runways, now a memory. The drones captured her fall, their feeds buzzing. Scarlet Vane canceled. Scarlett's allies, the influencers and socialites who'd fueled the viral assault, shrank back, their phones dim, their status dust. Theo turned to the yacht's crew, his green eyes a tempest. You mocked my fiancé, he said, his voice cutting through the deck's silence. Your contracts are void. Security presented a tablet showing Liam Hayes and Elise Marin's employment records erased, their careers ashes. Liam's uniform sagged, his bravado gone as he muttered, We were just following orders. Elise's crisp apron trembled, her dreams of prestige ruined by her cruelty. The guests watched, their flutes warm, their laughter a distant shame. The Seraphina's chandeliers cast a soft glow, illuminating Tiana's purple dress, a radiant throne in the chaos. Her brown eyes, fierce with purpose, met Theo's, their bond a spark that burned through the elite's world. The drone's lenses zoomed in, their feeds flooding with awe. A queen rises. Tiana stood taller, her shivering frame warmed by Theo's coat, her heart soaring with a courage forged in Atlanta's struggles and refined by loss. The elite's opulence, their diamonds and champagne, felt hollow against her dignity. Scarlett's face paled, her heels unsteady as she bumped a chair, her insecurity laid bare. Ethan's eyes dropped to the deck, his betrayal a weight he couldn't shed. The Seraphine's waves pulsed, a rhythm of justice, as Theo's proposal, in Tiana's strength, shattered the night, their love a flame that no cruelty could extinguish. The Seraphine's main deck quivered under the weight of a seismic reckoning, its obsidian floors reflecting the chandelier's dimming glow like a mirror to the elite's fading glory. Tiana Brooks stood at the heart of the storm, her silk purple dress, still damp from the sea, a radiant emblem of resilience. Her ebony hair, loosened and glistening, framed her face, her deep brown eyes blazing with unyielding strength. Beside her, Theodore Langley, his soaked suit clinging to his powerful frame, radiated authority, his green eyes a tempest of justice. The air, once thick with venomous laughter, now crackled with the aftermath of Theo's proposal. A vow that had crowned Tiana and exposed the cruelty of those who'd sought to break her. The guests, their flutes forgotten, stood paralyzed, their diamonds dulled by shame. Scarlet Vane, her red gown sagging, shrank against the railing, her emerald eyes hollow. Ethan Caldwell, his blonde hair disheveled, clutched the remnants of his bourbon glass, his navy suit crumpled like his empire. The paparazzi drones buzzed relentlessly, their feeds ablaze with the unfolding drama. A queen's justice unfolds. Theo's gaze, sharp as a blade, swept the deck, his voice a low thunder that commanded silence. "You betrayed the woman who built your world," he said, turning to Ethan, his words slicing through the waves' restless hum. Ethan's smirk vanished, his blue eyes flickering with guilt he could no longer drown. Security stepped forward, presenting a phone displaying Caldwell Ventures, stock plummeting 45%, its graph a jagged descent into ruin. Investors, alerted by the live stream scandal, were fleeing, their loyalty to Ethan's empire dissolving like mist. The screen flashed with headlines, "Caldwell Ventures crumbles amid betrayal." Ethan's suit seemed to choke him, his hands trembling as memories of Tiana's late-night pitches, her algorithms saving his company from collapse, flooded back. He'd traded her brilliance for Scarlett's glamour, and now his ambition lay in ashes. The guests whispered, their earlier scorn a bitter echo, their flutes warm in their hands. Theo's wrath turned to Ethan's family, gathered near the VIP lounge, their tailored suits and heirloom jewelry glinting with fading arrogance. Evelyn Caldwell, 60, Ethan's mother, sipped her martini, her icy gaze faltering. "She was never one of us," she'd sneered earlier, dismissing Tiana as a leech. Theo's voice cut through her pretense. "You scorned the woman who built your son's legacy. Langley Capital is divesting from Caldwell Ventures." Security presented a tablet showing the Caldwell family's shares evaporating, their wealth a mirage. Evelyn's martini glass trembled, her dynasty crumbling as she muttered, "She was nothing." Her mind flashed to Tiana's first family dinner, her cold stare dismissing her brilliance. Now her legacy was dust. Ethan's cousin, Oliver Caldwell, 32, a VP, saw his title revoked, his heirloom ring tarnished as his arrogance collapsed. The drones captured their fall, their feeds buzzing. "Caldwell dynasty in ruins." The reckoning spread to the yacht's champagne bar, where Caldwell Ventures executives cowered. Gregory Lang, 43, a chief strategist, his gold cufflinks dull, had mocked Tiana's miscarriage. Theo's gaze was lethal. "You slandered my fiancé. Your role is done." Security presented a tablet voiding Gregory's contracts, his career ashes. Marilyn Holt, 40, the CFO, her venomous claim that Tiana was too fragile, now a noose around her ambition, saw her title revoked. Her watch dimmed as she faced her complicity, her eyes built on Ethan's lies unraveling. A video of Tiana's bookstore, Lumiere Books on Ornate, flashed on a screen, a Marseille haven for 80 poets, its shelves a testament to her resilience. The crowd gasped, their cigars extinguished, their earlier taunts a shameful memory. The Seraphine's chandeliers flickered, casting Tiana's purple dress as a radiant throne. Theo faced the socialites near the grand staircase, their pearl necklaces and silk gowns no shield against his justice. Margot Duval, 29, who'd spread lies about Tiana's miscarriage, paled as Theo declared, "Langley's charity board is pulling your funding." Security presented documents defunding Margot's foundation, her influence dust. Her pearls seemed to choke her status a mirage as she whispered, "We didn't know." Elise Morrow, 27, her Instagram crashing, saw her followers flee as her lies unraveled. A photo of Tiana mentoring poets at Lumiere flashed on the screen, her smile a rebuke to their cruelty. The guests shrank, their phones buzzing with shame, their opulence exposed as hollow. The drone's lenses zoomed in, their feeds flooding with awe. Tiana's legacy shines. At the stern, Theo confronted the bankers who'd called Tiana a leech. Khalid Raza, 38, his platinum watch dull, faced ruin as Theo announced, "Your bank's Langley accounts are frozen." Security presented documents collapsing Khalid's deals, his ambition crumbling under Tiana's poise. A banker who'd taunted her apologized, his fund blacklisted, his status dust. Theo unveiled a letter from a poet thanking Tiana for her mentorship, its words a crown for her impact. The Seraphine's waves lapped against the hull, a rhythm of justice, as the elite's world trembled. Tiana stood taller, her brown eyes fierce, her heart soaring with a strength forged in Atlanta's struggles and refined by loss. Her purple dress, once mocked, was a scepter, her dignity a flame that burned through their arrogance. The deck's marble gleamed, a stage for Tiana's triumph, as the elite's phones dimmed, their empire in ruins. Scarlet hid her face, her red gown a faded memory, her plot buried under Tiana's resilience. Ethan's eyes dropped to the deck, his betrayal a weight he'd carry forever. The Seraphine's opulence felt like a husk, its party a graveyard of ambition. Tiana's presence, her silence a radiant crown, and Theo's justice had dismantled their world, leaving only her truth to shine in the darkness. The Tuscan villa stood like a sanctuary against the rolling hills, its stone walls bathed in the golden glow of dusk, ivy clinging to its arches as if guarding the peace within. Tiana Brooks, now Lady Langley, moved through its marble halls, her silk purple dress replaced by a flowing ivory gown, her ebony hair cascading in soft waves. Her deep brown eyes, once fierce with defiance, now shimmered with purpose, tempered by a love that had crowned her. Lumiere Books, her Marseille haven, had grown into a global beacon, mentoring 250 poets and artists, its shelves a testament to her resilience. Theodore Langley, her husband, stood by her side, his green eyes a steady anchor, his devotion a fortress against the world. The Seraphine's cruel spectacle was a fading scar, its elite humbled, their empire's dust. Yet in the quiet of this new life, a shadow stirred, a venomous echo from the past that refused to let Tiana's light shine, unthreatened. In a Chicago penthouse, Ethan Caldwell, his blonde hair now streaked with gray, sat hunched over a desk littered with empty bourbon bottles. His navy suit, once pristine, was rumpled, his blue eyes hollow with bitterness. Caldwell Ventures, the empire Tiana had built, lay in ruins, its stock a ghost after investors fled. The Seraphine's live stream scandal had stripped him of power, his name a synonym for betrayal. Yet Ethan's heart, twisted by pride and loss, refused to accept Tiana's happiness. Her triumph with Theo, her radiant rise was a mirror to his failure, and it burned. Late at night, fueled by liquor and rage, he unearthed old photos, intimate moments from their marriage, snapshots of Tiana's unguarded laughter in their Atlanta apartment. His fingers trembled as he typed a note, "Return to me, or these go viral." The package sent to Tiana's villa was a dagger aimed at her peace. Tiana received the parcel in the villa's sunlit study, her hand steady as she opened it, expecting a gift from a poet. The photos spilled out, her younger self smiling beside Ethan, moments she'd buried after his betrayal. The note's words struck like a whip, her breath catching as memories flooded back. His cold dismissal after her miscarriage, his smirk on the Seraphine. Her brown eyes glistened, not with fear, but with a quiet fury. She'd vowed never to let him wound her again, yet here he was, clawing at her sanctuary. Her fingers traced the photos, her heart racing with her mother's words. Courage is your crown. She set the package aside, her resolve afire, but the shadow of Ethan's threat lingered, a storm cloud over her hard-won joy. Theo entered the study, his tailored shirt rolled to his elbows, his green eyes softening as they met hers. Sensing her tension, he crossed the room, his hand finding hers. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice a steady anchor. Tiana handed him the note, her silence heavy with trust. Theo's jaw tightened, his eyes darkening as he read. The photos of violation of the woman he'd sworn to protect. His mind flashed to Senegal, Tiana's hand pulling him from the river, her courage his salvation. Ethan's audacity was a desecration of that bond. "He'll never touch your peace again," Theo vowed, his voice low but lethal, a promise carved in stone. Tiana nodded, her brown eyes fierce, her heart steadied by his love, but the weight of Ethan's malice pressed against her. Theo acted with the precision of a man who'd built a $60 billion empire. He hired a discreet cybersecurity firm, their expertise a silent blade. Within hours, they traced the package to Ethan's Chicago penthouse, intercepting digital copies of the photos before they could spread. The firm's analysts, working in a shadowy office, wiped the images from Ethan's devices, their code a guillotine to his threat. Theo's legal team, led by a sharp-eyed attorney, descended on Chicago, presenting evidence of Ethan's harassment, timestamps, IP addresses, the notes scrawled venom. In a stark boardroom, Ethan faced a restraining order, his remaining assets frozen for violating privacy laws. His hands shook, his bourbon-soaked defiance crumbling as the attorney's voice cut through. "You've lost everything. Stop now." The penthouse, once a throne, felt like a cage, his empire a memory. Tiana, unaware of the legal storm, stood in the villa's garden, mentoring a young poet via video call, her voice warm as she praised their verses. Her ivory gown caught the breeze, her ebony hair gleaming, her brown eyes alive with purpose. Lumiere, logo, a lotus flower, adorned her tablet, a symbol of her legacy. Theo joined her, his hand slipping into hers, his green eyes carrying the quiet victory of his actions. "It's done," he said, his voice soft but ironclad. "He's gone from your life." Tiana's breath hitched, her heart soaring with relief, her love for Theo a mirror to her resilience. The poet's voice faded, the garden's roses a vibrant frame to their bond, as Tiana's strength banished the shadow of Ethan's vengeance. The villa's peace was restored, its stone walls a fortress for Tiana's dreams. Ethan's threat, a desperate grasp at control, had crumbled under Theo's justice. His Chicago penthouse now a tomb for his regrets. Tiana's brown eyes, fierce with purpose, turned to the horizon, her heart forged in Atlanta's struggles and refined by love. The Seraphine's cruelty was a distant echo, its elite forgotten, their diamonds dust. Tiana's legacy, her bookstore, her courage shone brighter, a beacon no shadow could dim. Theo's devotion, a steady flame, crowned her eternal, their love a testament to a truth Ethan could never touch. Tiana's light was unbreakable. The Seraphine, once a glittering fortress of opulence, now drifted like a ghost ship on the Riviera's sapphire waves, its obsidian decks dim under a sky heavy with stars. The chandeliers that had cast prisms over the elite's cruelty hung dark, their glow extinguished by the seismic triumph of Tiana Brooks. She stood on a Tuscan villa's balcony, her ivory gown flowing like moonlight, her ebony hair cascading in soft waves that caught the evening breeze. Her deep brown eyes, fierce with purpose, reflected the horizon, where the sea met the sky in a dance of endless possibility. Beside her, Theodore Langley, his tailored shirt open at the collar, gazed at her with green eyes that held a love as unyielding as the stone walls around them. The Seraphine's venomous spectacle was a fading wound, its elite humbled, their empire's ash. Tiana's resilience, crowned by Theo's devotion, had rewritten the night, and now her legacy shone as a beacon for the world. The villa's marble floors echoed with the soft hum of celebration, a gathering of poets and artists from Lumiere books. Tiana's Marseille haven, that had grown into a global sanctuary, Its shelves, once a modest refuge for 80 dreamers, now nurtured 250 voices, their verses a tapestry of hope woven from Tiana's courage. A young poet, her notebook trembling in her hands, approached Tiana, reciting lines inspired by her strength. Tiana's smile, warm and radiant, was a crown, her brown eyes glistening with pride. She wore no diamonds, no choker of privilege. Her ivory gown and bare feet were her regalia, her dignity a scepter that outshone the seraphine's gaudy wealth. Theo's hand found hers, his touch a steady vow, his green eyes reflecting her light. "You've built a world," he said, his voice soft but resonant, a testament to the empire she'd forged from loss. Beyond the villa, the world buzzed with Tiana's name. Social media, once a weapon of the elite's scorn, now thrummed with awe. Occasion Tiana Brooks trending with 6 million posts. X feeds overflowed with images of her purple dress, once mocked, now a symbol of resilience, captioned "The Queen Who Rose." Paparazzi drones which had captured her fall now chased her light, their lenses framing her as Lady Langley, a woman who'd turned cruelty into a coronation. Theo had gifted her the Senegalese island where they'd met, renaming it Ile de Tiana, its shores a sanctuary where palms whispered her victory. She'd stood there days ago, her bare feet in the sand, her brown eyes tracing the waves that had once carried her to him. The island's lotus flowers, blooming in defiance of the tides, mirrored her spirit, a flame no storm could extinguish. Inside the villa, a screen projected Lumiere's logo, a lotus flower, its petals unfurling across the room like a promise. Theo had pledged $500 million to expand the bookstore into a global network, a haven for the forgotten, its mission etched in Tiana's vision, to lift those the world had tried to break. A poet's letter framed on the wall thanked Tiana for her mentorship, its words a crown for her impact. "You showed me my voice matters." The guests, artists, not aristocrats, raised glasses of simple wine, their laughter free of the seraphine's venom. Tiana moved among them, her ivory gown catching the candlelight, her presence a melody of grace. Her heart, forged in Atlanta's public housing and refined by betrayal, soared, no longer tethered by the elite's disdain. The seraphine's wreckage lingered in memory, its elite scattered like leaves. Scarlet Vane, her red gown a faded relic, had vanished into obscurity, her Parisian runways barred, her name a cautionary tale. Ethan Caldwell, his blonde hair grayed, haunted a Chicago penthouse, his empire a husk, his threats silenced by Theo's justice. The influencers, Zara Lynn, Layla Moreau, saw their followers dwindle, their viral scorn now a footnote. Socialites like Margot Duval, their foundations defunded, and bankers like Khaled Raza, their deals frozen, faded into irrelevance, their diamonds dust. The Seraphine's crew, Liam and Elise, scrubbed decks elsewhere, their dreams of prestige buried under their own cruelty. The yacht itself, once a $350 million throne, was docked, its parties forgotten, its chandeliers cold. Tiana stepped onto the balcony, the Tuscan hills stretching before her, their curves a canvas for her dreams. Theo joined her, his green eyes tracing her profile, his love a mirror to her courage. "You're eternal," he said, his voice a vow that echoed Senegal, where her hand had pulled him from death. She smiled, her brown eyes fierce, her heart alive with her mother's words. "Courage is your crown." The villa's garden bloomed with roses, their petals a vibrant frame for her legacy. Lumiere's lotus logo, projected across the Riviera sky by a distant drone, was a beacon of her truth. A woman who'd risen from the sea to claim her throne. The poets' voices drifted from within, their verses a chorus of her impact, each word a thread in the tapestry she'd woven. The world beyond the villa thrummed with her story, posts flooding X. Who's the real power? Tiana's purple dress, her bare feet, her unyielding gaze had become a legend, her resilience a fire that lit the forgotten. She turned to Theo, her hand in his, her brown eyes shimmering with purpose. Her heart, once shattered by Ethan's betrayal, now soared, its scars a map of her strength. The Seraphine's waves, once a grave, were now a distant pulse, their rhythm bowing to her triumph. Tiana Brooks, Lady Langley, was no longer the woman they tried to drown. She was eternal, her dignity a radiant crown, her love with Theo a flame that burned through the darkness, illuminating a world remade by her light. What an incredible journey we've shared with Tiana Brooks, a woman whose resilience turned cruelty into a radiant crown. We hope her story of courage and triumph has inspired you as much as it has us. Where are you tuning in from, and what moved you most about Tiana's rise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe to our channel for more stories that ignite the soul, and share this tale with someone who needs a spark of hope. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable ride. Your support keeps these stories alive. Until next time, keep shining, and we'll see you in the next video.